ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن نبينا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم عبد الله ورسوله أما بعد Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Indeed, all the thanks and all the praises are due to Allah the Almighty, who has made it possible for us to be together this evening. Despite the weather, it's been a wet day here in this part of the world that I am communicating from. And to that, we have some delay in the masjid. So today we're going to be talking about functional and dysfunctional homes. Functional and dysfunctional homes. Respected viewers, a home is called a home not necessarily because it is a building. What makes a home to be a home is because of the quality of livingness in it. We could have buildings made of bricks and cement and roofing sheets and doors and windows. But the building may not have the quality of being called a home because it doesn't meet the requirement. The home is a home because it is the training ground for the future generation of every community. The home is a home because it provides the moral foundation, the character foundation, because it provides the individuals, the communities, and the nations the platform to evolve in a positive way. A home harbors future leaders, and the quality of the home will determine the quality of the future leaders. So where we have homes that are functional, where we have homes that are productive, then it shows that the home will be the harbinger of good citizens, good leaders, good followers, good representatives of their community and the society at large. Unfortunately, some home produce fear, conflict, turmoil in the society, and of course, emotional pains. And tonight, this is going to be our discussion talking about what is a functional home and what is a dysfunctional home. Now, by way of definition, a functional home is the one which provides the family members the peace and the harmony of living together. They live together in peace, they live together in harmony, they live together with love, they live together with respect, with understanding, and in a state that nourishes their growth, not only physically, but also spiritually, morally, psychologically, and emotionally. All the needs in the home is being met, because the home provides such needed haven. It provides the needed platform, the basis for the home or the family to stick together and be productive. Now, keep in mind, the members of the family will not only be productive for the sake of the family, but they will also be productive for the sake of the community and the nation at large. And in the glorious Quran, Allah enumerates and highlights, Allah highlights the fundamental qualities that we could or we should have in a home before we can call it a home. Because if these qualities are not found in a home, then we can't say that is a home. If you can't find these qualities in a home, then ordinarily we can't say this is a home. And in Quran chapter 30, verse 21, Allah enumerates three qualities, talking about tranquility, talking about love, and talking about mercy. So these ingredients are key to the functionality of a home. This ayah gives us the ingredients that we all should look out for before you can call it home. So because somebody lives in a big house, or the fact that somebody lives in a big house does not mean that it's living in a home, because People will live, as we shall see in the course of this conversation, people live in homes or in houses which are bereft on the night of these key pillars that we can call the pillars of a happy home. And to that, I want us to consider the fact that the society will be a society only because the home is a home. And if the home becomes a hell, then we say that society cannot be called a society. Albeit we can call it a jungle. And so many examples are out there with which we begin to ask questions. Can we really call this a society? Or can we really call this a community or what have you? So to that extent, we'll be talking about, going forward, what are the things we could have in a home that we can call it a home, and what are the things that we could have in a home that we can say this is not a home. Here we shall be talking about, first to start with, what is the what are the qualities rather that we could be having or we should be having in a home before we can call it a functional home, inshallah. Now, the first thing we should be talking about that we can say this is a home is that God Almighty occupies the center. Before you can call a home, it should be built on godliness and righteousness. Now, if a home is built not with faith in the Almighty, and I'm saying this with due respect to those who do not subscribe to any form of faith in God, with those who do not believe there is a creator, anyway, that will be a discussion for another day. But the bottom line is that if there were no creator, there can't be the created things. No creator, there can't be creation. And you can't have an organized universe without having an organizer of the universe. So, in the same vein, you can't have a home that would not care about the existence of its creator, because every member of the family has been created by the creator, and that is the Almighty alone. So the home must build its foundation on godliness and righteousness. Talking about prayer, talking about reciting the Quran, talking about making your standards to be based on what God wants, making your standard to be based on what is pleasing unto Him, and this is what makes a home to be a home. And the second characteristic of a functional home is healthy communication. In a functional home, every member of the family speak respectfully. They communicate in a peaceful manner. They communicate, they speak, and they listen. When somebody listen, and then the other person speaks, and the other person also speaks, the other person listens. So it is an interaction. And furthermore, still on communication or family communication, a functional family would discuss without insulting one another. They won't raise abuses or heap abuses on themselves. They will encourage themselves to be better community, a better part of the society, and they will be able to communicate in such a manner that will build bridges rather than creating walls among themselves. So we're talking about family communication, where the family will communicate together. Parents will encourage the children to express themselves respectfully, and they communicate among themselves to encourage themselves to be better family members. Furthermore, is mutual respect. In a home that we can call a home, the husband and the wife respect themselves. The husband honors his wife, and the wife also respects the husband. Children play their roles as children, and parents take responsibility over their children. They train the children on how to handle chores in the house and how to be leaders, not only in the home, but also in the larger society. So here we're talking about a home whereby everybody in the family is respected. So there is no hazards as regards somebody feeling unsafe because somebody will abuse me or disrespect me. Everybody is free to express himself or herself in a home. Furthermore, we have in a home, among the characteristics of a home, is emotional security. When you are, and this is a problem with some homes. You don't tolerate children making mistakes in your presence. So where else should they make the mistakes? Because every child is afraid of the spanking. Every single mistake must have a knock on the head. Excuse me, this is not a home here. The children should be free to make mistakes in the presence of their parents. And because they know that their dad or their moms, they're going to correct them in a lovely manner. You know, mistakes not will not be a chance where the children will be crushed, but it gives them opportunity where in the home they are able to express themselves because they know that dad and mom will correct them in a lovely manner, and so no hazards. And that is why you see the difference between children who are coming from homes that we can call a healthy home and children who are coming from homes where their parents are bullied. These other ones are free. They have the mind of the confidence, but these other ones are afraid. It is no it's for no other reason other than the fact that in the home where parents are bullied, the children are not safe. They are not really safe because they are always afraid of expressing themselves because they know that if for one mistake, there is no room for correction. And even when they correct it, they correct with abuses and insults. This to me, we can't call it a home. Furthermore, a home is a place where there is shared responsibility, where everybody contributes to the family to the family maintenance. The children know that they are supposed to wash the plate, they're supposed to sweep the house. The father knows his role, the mother knows no one knows her role, and everybody plays the responsibilities, correctly. Furthermore, in a home that is functional, there is room for forgiveness. Where people make mistakes, a functional family is a place whereby children are taught to apologize when they make mistakes. And the other person who might have been hurt, they are taught to forgive. In some homes, for some children to say I am sorry will look like their teeth is going to be blown off their mouth. They don't know how to say I'm sorry for offenses that they have committed. Furthermore, one of the important characteristics of a functional home is that everybody is disciplined in a positive manner. Now, keep in mind, respected viewers, that when you discipline your child, the aim is not to destroy the child, but it's supposed to align the child to your own path. So the correction here is going to be with compassion. The children are not being afraid that when they are being corrected, they are going to be beaten all the time. So children know that correction is with compassion and it's supposed to be a way of aligning them to the value system of their families. So this is a functional home. Now, what are the characteristics of a dysfunctional home? First and foremost, a dysfunctional home is a place where there are unhealthy practices. The practices that happen between, or the traits that you see between husband and wife, between parents and the children, they are not things that are healthy. And there are so many things that happen in a dysfunctional home. And key thing there is neglect. Neglect on the part of husband and wife. Husband neglects the wife neglects the husband, and then the parents neglect their children. So they are living under the same room, under the same roof, but everybody is living separate lives, and this is very sad. Of course, dysfunctional home brings people home together physically, but emotionally they are separated. Everybody is on his own. The abuse, the insult, there is constant conflict and argument. Every time there is somebody to be insulted, every time there is somebody to be abused, they raise their voice, they shout at themselves, and there is absence of love and affection. When you talk about how they behave at home, their behavior is more or less like a mechanical way of behavior. They do not behave in a manner that shows that these are children that have come from a functional home. I mentioned in a functional home that is positive communication, but in a dysfunctional home that is poor communication strategy. Like I mentioned, people shout at themselves. Somebody is talking, the other person interrupt the other person who is talking, and they say shut up, and they say shut up, and all these insults and abuses go on and on. In dysfunctional home, they use silence as a punishment. Family members stop sharing their feelings because they are afraid of being misunderstood. So children are not really bold enough to do some things in the presence of their parents because they are afraid that the next thing is going to be beaten. Where the parents take pleasure in constantly beating their children, you send them away from the family. So they tend to build walls around themselves against their parents. Furthermore, in a dysfunctional home, you have physical abuses. Physical abuses in terms of beating. I mentioned beating. There could be verbal abuses in terms of insults. There could also be emotional abuses. Where somebody is being cowed down and is not able to express himself. There could also be financial abuses of psychological manipulation, and even sometimes some people justify these things by using the toga of religiosity. And I was interacting with a man who told me this, and I felt so sad about it. He was trying to reference the fact that men are the ones in charge of their wives, and I said yes, no contest about that, but that doesn't make the man to be a ruler. The man said no, the man is the ruler, and I said, excuse me, sir, you see you are a ruler over your wife, and he was raising his voice. So the fact that he could do that to me, who is literally a stranger we only met at the program, I kept imagining how the man is going to be treating his wives or wife, as the case may be, and children at home. So this is kind of abusive way is not the way of functional home. This rather is the pattern of a dysfunctional family. Furthermore, other qualities of dysfunctional family is where there is lack of trust or where promises are broken repeatedly. You can imagine the father promises the child that I'm going to do this, and he lied to the child. But the father teaches the children to lie. I got a case of a child who was beaten by the father. He was caught stealing, and the father started beating him. So people were intervening that it's okay, this beating is much, man. So they said, why are you beating him so much? He said that this child disgraced my family. Is it by stealing? No, he said, not by stealing. He said, by allowing himself to be caught. Is he the only one who has stolen in this community? Other children steal. Why would you allow yourself to be caught? You are not smart. And that was the only reason why the man was beating the child. So imagine a father who beats the child for the fact that he's not a smart thief. Where do we go from here? This is sad, man. This is sad. So in a dysfunctional home, my fear about dysfunctional home is this. I respect the viewers. Is that this dysfunctional home is a time bomb for the society. Because if a home is dysfunctional, society bears the brunt. Here today, we're dealing with insecurity, we're dealing with banditry, kidnapping. And I say that these children did not draw from the blues. They didn't draw from the sky. They are the byproduct of dysfunctional families. They are what the dysfunctional families have turned out to our society, sadly. So we all must take a look at this and begin to appraise our minds to how we can make our homes to be functional. At whichever level, whatever level we may belong, in whichever way we want to look at it from, we need to be intentional about making our homes to work. If not because of our own homes, at least because of our national security. Because your family is part and parcel of the national security architecture, and there is nothing we can do about this. Your family is part of the society. If you get it wrong, then the whole society is going to be wrong. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on us. Now, we shall be talking about now what are the causes of dysfunctional homes. Because without understanding the causes, somebody that is about, being plunged into family dysfunctional traits will not know. Let us look at the qualities, the causes of dysfunctional homes. There are so many factors, but number one of this factor is that a dysfunctional home does not build the foundation of the family on faith and righteousness. The husband and the wife live together for profane things. They don't have, they're not intentional about the living together. They just live together frugally and casually, and they can live whichever way they want to. They are not taking responsibilities by themselves. They are not, the husband and the wife did not build their families on the foundation of the fear of the Almighty. Furthermore, dysfunctional family, like I mentioned, could be based on the wrong choice of husband and wife. When you choose wrongly, then you have just laid the foundation of a dysfunctional family. I've interacted with some youngsters, and when I tell them about the need for them to keep marriage in mind, that they might be getting married very soon, they tell me, no, this is not necessary. You don't have to disturb yourself over trying to plan to get married. No. He said, you just get married anyhow. And I said to them, if you get married anyhow, you're going to live your life anyhow. And you give birth to anyhow children. Of course, giving birth to anyhow children is going to be a problem to the larger society. So when the husband and the wife select themselves wrongly, is a problem. And then the other time we talk about anger management, issue. When they have poor anger management strategy, then that is a problem because the home becomes a hell. It becomes another battlefront rather than becoming a haven of peace. Now, when we have irresponsibility financially, especially on the part of the husband, but the husband does not take financial responsibility over the wife and the children, then this is a cause of dysfunctional home. Furthermore, infidelity, either on the part of the husband, on the part of the wife, could create dysfunctional family because each person will just be living separate lives, even though they are living under the same roof. Drug abuse and substance abuse is also a problem. Furthermore, is domestic violence. Subhanallah, domestic violence is a problem in the society where, I used to think that it's only on the part of men, male folk, being violent against the female. Even the female can have violence against the male. So whenever there is domestic violence, be it on the part of the man or the woman, or on the part of the parents to the children, then it could be a cause of dysfunctional home. When the members of the family are so puffed up with arrogance to the extent that when you wrong someone, you are not ready to say, I am sorry, then that could be the basis of having a dysfunctional family. Furthermore, in a society that is, of course, we live in this society these days where we have negative influences of social media. And if the home does not restrict, especially access to phone, or there is no time whereby children won't be able to have access to phone. And I've said this to parents who care to listen, you don't give like Android phone that connect your children to the internet where the children don't have the capacity to handle it. They don't have the maturity to handle the content, because some of the content on the internet highway can be very destructive to the growth of the children. So I think allowing your children on unrestricted access to the social media could be the basis of their destruction. Of course, that could be the beginning of the homes becoming dysfunctional. And also, I want to appeal to us to please pay attention to our homes, because the truth of the matter is that most of the homes that became dysfunctional do not become dysfunctional all of a sudden. They become dysfunctional over a period of time because of lack of attention, because of neglect. And eventually, you discover that these homes have become dysfunctional. The husband and the wife, even though they live under the same roof, they live separate lives. So they live parallel lives under the same room, under the same roof. So I want to appeal, let us pay attention to ourselves and connect with ourselves constantly and regularly in order to make our homes the home that would be the harbinger of peace and serenity to the larger society. And I'm saying this because it's saddening to note that our society today, each time you go you go around, you drive around the street, in the communities, you discover that many of our youth are actually, they're losing their moral values. They don't know how to talk, they shout. They don't know how to respect elders. They don't know how to greet. They are always constantly on their cell phone. There is lack of respect for norms in society. So this is a problem to the larger society, and we all need to be interested on how to solve this problem. Like I mentioned earlier, like I mentioned earlier, the problem of dysfunctional home does not stop at the that very home itself. If a home is dysfunctional, it doesn't stop there. It doesn't end there. it culminates and it gets to the level where that home or this home or those homes that are dysfunctional, they become problem to the larger society. Here we're talking about the effects of a dysfunctional home on the larger society. Now, I mentioned earlier the first and foremost if negative if effect of the dysfunctional home to the larger society is that the children raised from such a home will bring harm and evil to the society. They're not going to bring good to the society. We have so many examples of this kind of evil that such homes can create. And I pray Allah in His mercy not to make your home or mine to be part of those that will create problem to the larger society. We're talking about so many evils on the part of the children from dysfunctional home because they won't build the society. They will rather destroy the society. Where a society has been so peaceful and homes become dysfunctional, the peace in that society will go away. The children they will be involved in drug abuse. They will be aggressive. They will be uncontrollable, and it gives problem to the society and the security architecture. Because these children that are from this dysfunctional home, they won't perform well in the school. They drop out of school. We have so many out of school children. They walk on the streets, holding balls in their hands. Parents don't take responsibility over them. As early as 5 4 5 years, they're on the road, walking barefooted without slippers. The only thing they know is just how to eat like animals. I mean, how can society grow where you have such children in societies and communities? These are homes where the children that come from such families, they don't have anything to contribute. If they don't have anything to contribute, it's okay, it's fine. But they are going to destroy the peace that other people have contributed. So this problem of dysfunctional home is something that has to be looked at holistically. And holistically I mean that it's not enough for me to say that I have taken my own part, I played my part in ensuring that my home is functional. That is not enough until we're able to ensure that other homes are also functional. Because it's like you have done your bit. If the other party fails to do his or her bit, the fact that they have failed in their responsibilities, they will affect the functional family that you have built. And I'm giving an example here of the case of the young man who lived in a society and he was raised by the street. The family member are dysfunctional. But because, after a while, the parents packed out of that society, they left that community, but this child keeps coming back. He will find a way of coming back, hang about the street and all this. Eventually, he attacked and almost killed one of the children who allegedly used to be his friend. But he had dropped out of school, and this other one continued with his education and undergraduate in one of the universities. And he called him and says, "Excuse me, I don't have time for this. I have somewhere to go." And the guy said, "Which one you done?" And he started beating him up and they started fighting. And he injured him because he doesn't have respect for life. And I mean, how can you train children who don't have respect for life? How can you train them? Because their fathers, their mothers, they have not trained them about the values of life. When they hit, and in fact, when he was fighting, he was hitting the young man right in his eyes. No value for you can't touch some sensitive part of the body. It was out to do the worst. Now, the parents of the young man who had raised their own children in a functional family, they found that it doesn't concern them about what the other person did, but now it concerns them because the failure of the other dysfunctional family, that failure is now affecting their own children, right? So we need to close ranks and take responsibility not only of your own. If you see other people who are living family lives that are dysfunctional, at least you have a duty to tell them. In functional community, you need to report them. You need to report them to law enforcement agencies or agencies of the government that are responsible to do this. That this one that you are doing today, your children are out of school, they're not going for anything tangible, they're not doing anything tangible to themselves. These children will grow up to become a challenge to our community. You need to raise your voice in that regard. But if we keep silent and we believe that it's not our problem, the fine and good. We may feel and think that it's not our problem today. I hope and let it not be that tomorrow, those people that have raised children from dysfunctional family, they won't have their children affecting our own children. And this is the bottom line tonight, because we need to take charge of our future, and not only the future of our own family, including your neighbors. Okay? If they are not doing the right thing, at least you have a responsibility to talk to them. It is my prayer that Allah in His mercy will keep us steadfast on the path of righteousness at all times and make our families to be functional. And on a final note, I want to appeal. Please, if there is any issue that is militating against the functionality of any home, I think it is better for us to talk about it. Let us talk. Let the husband and the wife converse. Let us have a conversation around it. And with that, we will get solution to these problems of the society. And I believe that our community will get back on track if every home gets functional. If every home gets functional, husbands play their role as husbands, wives play their roles as wives, children take responsibilities as children, then our society is going to be better for it. It is my prayer for you and myself that Allah the Almighty will bless us all and make our homes to be functional. I mean, I really want to thank you all for finding time to be with us tonight. I sincerely do appreciate you despite the poor weather in this part of the country tonight. I really want to thank and appreciate you for being around with us to discuss this all important topic. I ask Allah in His mercy to bless you and keep you and I steadfast on the path of righteousness at all times. I remain yours, Dr. Gidado Taufik Mikdad. Hope to see you again, inshallah, next time. Thank you. Ma'as salamat.